We are live. We're live, and as we wait for you to come on, I'm joined by somebody very special tonight. Apologies for the late start, but we are here. And if you're here with me, be sure to drop something in the chat so I know that you're here and you are ready, because we're going to have an interesting conversation tonight. So we're just waiting for some others to join. And we're just waiting for the audience to come on because we are having an important conversation and we don't want anyone to miss out on this. So we're just waiting for others to join. So just be patient with us a little bit longer uh, while we wait.
And you are still hearing me, right?
I'm still hearing you, which is
Okay,
good.
good. Great.
Is
I,
someone
I,
on? Go
yes.
ahead.
I must say that I watched the one. Was it last week?
It was the
The
week before. Because
very
last week I had some
interesting.
internet challenges. Yeah, it was. It was an
Yeah, man, it's
interesting
very
discussion.
interesting discussion, and there are so many things that persons don't understand when it comes to these things, as well
Mm-hmm.
as based on my experience, there are things at times that persons will see and ignore, as you pointed to. What
Yeah.
was the first stage again? The denial.
Denial.
The denial. And you have cases, where the denial stage it comes before the breakup, because there are times when you might have a situation where persons will see that the relationship over long before it is over.
I'm saying it's over
Yes,
for a while
yes.
and you
Nah.
don't recognize until it really
Mhm.
hits you or you don't want to recognize it.
Yeah, because if we are to be real,
Uh-huh.
the one that we are going to discuss tonight, there are a lot of important factors that persons don't discuss, because male, the biggest thing a male have, I'm ego.
Mm-hmm.
So
And when the
with
ego
that,
bruised,
yes, yes.
nothing
So what you,
normal.
yeah. So it was a very interesting discussion, man. I really enjoyed it. I watched it twice, about 3 times. Can't remember, but I watched it more than once.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
good.
man. That is good. And yeah,
I,
because
I
these, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying it was a good discussion, but I noticed that I have some male audience and I can't fully facilitate for them because I don't have the same or similar experiences that they would. You grow up in a society where males are told they're not allowed to talk about their feelings. And so I
And
didn't grow up like
yes.
that. I was a
Mhm.
woman. I grew up with, being miserable and talking about your feelings every 5 seconds. So I realized that I needed a male to provide some perspective, with that.
And we had a program last week at the West Jamaica conference, or a mentorship
Mhm.
program, and we were speaking about toxic masculinity. That is
Mm.
a reason for that. And toxic masculinity, it is a disease, it is a virus that a lot of male they don't admit that they have that.
Mm.
Where a man, if he expresses his feelings, he's weak. You know,
Yeah.
if he cry, he's a sissy and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So guess what? They keep all of that bottled up inside, and you see a lot of them. Most of they are weak fences. So they take it out on the female,
Mm-hmm.
and until she get fed up and can't take it no more. You touched a very important point last week as
I
well.
did.
a lot of female don't understand this. You said something that you were in pain, but after you would have gotten over that, you were over it.
Yeah, I was
You
over
know,
it.
you were over it. It's not that simple for males, and we'll
Yeah.
touch that in the discussion tonight. It's not that simple.
Definitely. I think we can
Mm,
start now. I see a few
mm,
persons saying they here. Hi Troy, hi
yeah,
Keaton. I know a few
yes.
persons would have joined.
Mhm,
So I believe that we can properly introduce the man in the seat. A very
okay.
comfortable looking seat over there.
Yes, man. This
Throne
is a
man
seat
looking
from where
seat.
this is a seat from where I do all my recordings. Yes,
Oh, it looks very comfortable.
yes, it is. It is,
It's
man.
almost
Very
like we
much
have
so.
matching backgrounds though. Pretend we're in the
Yes,
same space.
yes. Yeah.
So, good afternoon, good evening, rather. Speak your truth, fam. This is once again your girl, Yana Positive, with another episode on Speak Your Truth, The Untold. Here another Thursday night at 8 to have a talk, not just to be here to blabber our mouths, but to have a talk that uplifts our spirit, that provides an iris space of inspiration, relatable, empowering, and elevating content. And I'm so elated. I'm so happy to see you all here. And you're out, and my males are out tonight. And joining me is, a special man in this chair. It's Pastor Wayne Clark. He's the associate pastor of the Glendevon Seventh-day Adventist Church. He goes by the philosophy that a blind will stand looking through a million pair of eyes, not realizing that they will never see him. He's purpose driven, a super extrovert, he says, and very
Yes.
down to earth. We're going to explore the extrovert part because I don't understand that part. But all right, let's go right into discussion.
Mhm.
So, we are talking about the truth about breakups and talking about the fact that it's a different loss. It's a different loss that we experience in our lives, but it's the same grief. It's the same grief process that we go through. And normally, when you would have gone through that process, or rather, when you're about to go through that process, breakup has just happened, you're about to go through that process, there is a healing that has to take place. And it's almost like a broken bone, Pastor. If you don't fix it properly,
Mhm.
you will hobble around. It will not
Mhm.
function the way that you are supposed to function. So we are here to
Yes.
help you heal those broken spirits the right way, the healthy way, for you to be
Mhm.
healthier. And we want a
Yeah.
male perspective, of course. So Pastor is here to facilitate that for us.
Mm.
All right.
Most definitely.
Let's hear your thoughts
Mm.
on this. When you first heard the topic, same different loss, same grief, what comes to mind?
All right. What we have to understand is that everyone experience difference as it comes to loss. It
Mm-hmm.
depending when it comes to a breakup,
Mm-hmm.
it depend on how attached two persons were. Because for the female, a female she has to be emotionally attached to someone to
Mm-hmm.
even let them close, unless it's a player. Because the truth of the matters, you have two types of females out there. You have the wife material, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have the pleasure. I won't say the rest of that, but
Pleasure
it's
seeker. We put pleasure seeker.
yes, and that's just what they are and nothing else. That is the reality. It might sound harsh coming from a pastor, but that is the reality. I wasn't born in the
Reality.
church, so I can talk to you
Yeah,
from
man,
that
give it to
side.
us. This is speak your truth.
Yes, right.
Give it
We
to them
must,
plain.
before I say that, I must say this. Yeah. Hello?
Okay, I'm not sure if he froze or I froze, but the fact
Both
that I'm
of
still
us
moving.
froze. Are you
Okay,
hearing
go
me now?
ahead.
Am I
I
back
think you
on?
froze for a bit.
Yes. So a Christian
Oh, okay,
speaking
go
now.
ahead.
A Christian speaking, they will speak from the Christian side, and they will tell you, go pray about it. God will help
Mhm.
all of that. But what about someone from the side who is not a Christian, who is not familiar with that?
Mm.
They will grieve in a different way. They are around different people and different things, so they see things from a different angle. Now, a woman, now, as I said, she have to be attached. Male, let me put it this way: female, they are like ovens, you know. They have to be preheated. They have to go through all of that to get there. Males now, they are just like microwave, bang, and they are ready, you know. So you find out that the attachment is kind of different. So a female,
Mhm.
when when something goes wrong and it's a breakup, it will take a while for her to let go. But trust me, when she's over you, she's over you. The male
She's
on the
over
other
you.
side now, yeah, the male on the other side now, it is very difficult for him to be attached to someone. So you see, when he's attached to that one person, believe me, when she leaves, he will need counseling maybe for the rest of his life. He will,
Oh.
yes, a female will break up with someone, and when she's over him, she will love again. Not so easy for a male. When he's attached to someone and
Mhm.
that someone leave, especially if it was someone that, because the truth of the matter is this: for a female, when a breakup takes place, she goes through the
Mhm.
physical hurt, the emotional hurt, and all of that, and then get through that. But for a male, it is not physical or emotional, it is emotional, it is mental. You know,
Mm.
why is that? A male now, you cannot separate the breakup from cheating because it affects them both the same. Male love to cheat, but they
Mm.
can't take it when they
They
are
can't take it
cheating.
back.
No, they
Mm.
can't take it. So a male now, when he's going through a breakup, a lot of things is going through his mind. He will be in his bed and he'll be sleeping. He's wondering, I wonder where she is now. Who is she with? I wonder if he's
Mm.
treating her better than me. And all these things. So it is more about what she's experiencing now. Not so much as losing her, but what she's experiencing and to see if she's experiencing better. So you find out when a male go through these things now, what you find out
Mm.
happening, if there's not things to occupy his time, if there's not things for him to do, then when he will go
Mm.
through a certain phase. While a female, she just needs someone to support her. She's over that guy and then she'll fall in love again. So that is a difference.
Mm.
Females deal with breakup better. They are stronger than males there.
And that's a word because
Mm,
I think for me, some of this information is news, and it's something that I've had interest in, something that I would have
mm,
done in class or stuff like that. But this coming from you is sometimes some of it it's pretty much new information for me. And I know it's new information for those that are listening as well. Because sometimes we blame the male for a breakup, or we go through a breakup and we go through the pain and we don't realize that they also go through a pain. And the difference between a female now, we can talk to our friends about it, and our friends are there. I had really supportive friends that were there, and
mm,
call up our friends and talk about it. But I don't think males have that kind of support system that, call up and check up on them, and unless you have really good friends and people you can call when you feel a certain type of way and just talk to it, about your hurt and stuff like that. So you mentioned that one of the things that males would need is counseling. And I think that's important right across the board, because for females, even though you said it looks like she move on, she get over it and she move on, what a lot of females do is that they don't actually get over it. They just immerse themselves in somebody else. So for example, if they had a relationship with a guy, especially a one that was sexually intimate, they had a relationship, the relationship didn't work out. What most females do after that is they they go through pain and they don't want to feel the pain, and in order to for them to not feel the pain, they get attached to somebody else. So they it seems as if they move on, but it's really just stacking hurt upon hurt upon hurt, because a lot of females, we go into a relationship with another person just to get over the other person, and all we can think about is, okay, this is the same thing. These relationships are, I'm seeing some similarities, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
toxicity that comes out of that, because
Mhm.
then the relationship was never healthy from the beginning. You never went into
Mhm.
it for the right reasons. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things about healing. When we're healing, we have to give ourselves space and time to be alone by ourselves and to figure things out, because
Mhm.
you had been with somebody else. You have to relearn the habits that you once had with that person, and it could be small things. I was watching a YouTube video, and one of the somebody on an interview, she was asked a question about breakup, and she was saying that I found out I like to eat early instead of late, and it seems silly, but when you're with someone, your habits become their habits, and the things they like kind of becomes what you like, and you want to separate yourself from that. You want to relearn and redefine who you are. So I
Mhm.
think that's important also to highlight. And what are some other things that male can do to get over breakups?
All right. One of the thing males, this may be strange, but what males need to learn to do, they have to learn to be smart enough to not lose the person that they really love. Because
Mm,
as you would have made mention there, that the female will attach to someone just to get over that person. Some of the times the person that they attach to, that person might possibly replace the person they were with before. Now,
mm-hmm,
what you find out with a lot of male, even if
mm-hmm,
they do that and attach themselves to this particular person now, you will find out that every now and then the female still have a problem with that ex, because her name keep coming up every now and then, or
mm-hmm,
something about that female, or something that reminds it, and that causes a problem. So the
mm-hmm,
only thing that I say that a male can do, they have to just learn to be smart. They have to stop allowing ego to lead them. That I learned that a long time ago. Stop allowing ego to lead. Because you see, when that ego, when it explodes, trust me, you are left at a place where you don't even know what to do. So guess what you have to do now? You have to pretend to be someone that you are not. Persons
mm,
might not understand. A lot of male that you see out there, you don't understand what they go through when they are back home and the door is closed and
mm-hmm,
no one else is around. And the fact of the matter is that no one put them in that position. They are the one who put themselves in that position, because everyone feel like they are Superman. You know, I must please
mm,
this person. I must say that. As a female, I am sure person must approach you at times and all tell us some things that are irrelevant, tell us some irrelevant things, say some things where maybe it get you annoyed and all that. But that is all they do, because guess what? Different females are different. So they say different strokes are different folks. So you have a lot of
mm-hmm,
guys that will create a one thing that they try on every female. And it will work on a few, but they keep trying it.
mm-hmm,
It will annoy some. So guess what? Most of the times now when they do these things, when the female get to know them, they find out that they are not that person that they thought they were. You know?
mm,
Now, what happens some of the times? Some of the females leave before the attachment they happen. But some of the times the guys them get attached. Now when the
oh,
female gone now, that is where the problem comes in, you know. Now instead of admitting that they are hurting, they have to put on this bold face around their friends, because male, they are afraid of person saying that they are weak. And I can
mm-hmm,
tell you that because I have seen it, I have been around things, you know. So that is one
mm-hmm,
of the things that keep crushing them. In order for them to be helped and to get through most of these things, they have to just be real with themselves. They can't allow their
mm-hmm,
ego to be so big, because when that ego explodes, it is one of the most dangerous things that happen to them. Yes.
Mhm. I think that's important. Let's flip the script a little because I know for a lot of relationships, this is how we see it from the female end, but I want you to mansplain it to me.
Hmm.
I'm using
Hmm.
that in a positive context now.
Yes.
Um, for a lot of relationships that end, what we notice is that probably like 6 months prior to it ending, the relationship became hell, but the
Hmm.
man wouldn't leave. They want the female to leave. And so they
Hmm.
start acting up. They start behaving a certain way. They don't want to spend any time with you. They start doing the opposite of what they usually do in order to run the female away before so they don't have to do the breakup. But this is how we are seeing it from the female end. And that's the view that we're having. Is that actually a reality? Is that something that the male goes through? Like he's afraid of leaving the female, so he would rather do stuff for her to leave than for him to break up.
No, that's just a game that males play. It is one of the biggest card in the deck where I am with you and I am tired of you now. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I have to make it seem like you are the one who are doing something wrong. So guess what? I
Mm-hmm.
have already left, because I have other things occupying my time. If you want to see me for a 10 minutes, I am busy doing something. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like for me who play basketball, I will have time to go play basketball, but I won't have time for you. And I will
Mm-hmm.
have time for some other things. And when I used to spend that quality time with you. So now I reach that place where this relationship is over long time. But you know why I stay around? It's just for you to do something. And when that something is done, I just use that as the excuse. You are the reason why
Ooh.
this ended. Yes. So that is the
Ooh.
biggest card. It's not about afraid to leave, because if a man is afraid to leave someone, he would want to leave her. Think about it. That's the biggest card
So
in the deck.
it's the card is that I have to do something to make it feel like, so I can't blame you because I would have done something to make it feels like it's okay.
No,
Okay, that is.
you would believe you did something. It's not that you really did
Mm,
anything. Think about it. Just look
mm,
at some situation where the female, no matter what she do, she cannot get the man to leave her. You see, if a man no want to leave you, there's nothing you can do to get him to leave. So when you
mm,
see a man go through all of that, it is just that he's tired of this relationship. And some of the times what you find out happening, when you see other things like take up a person's interest, because there's one thing, and a lot of male might say this is stupidness, but ask any male if they have ever like be in love with two women at the same time. No, they will there will be one and they will
mm,
be messing around with others. That is why even if a man have 10 women and the one that he is interested in should walk in that room and catch him, he won't run after all of them. He will just run behind one. It's just that one he will chase
mm,
after. So you see, there are times in the relationship where a guy develop new interest, and that
mm,
new interest now, he must find a way to end this current thing. And he will stay around as long as it takes just for you to do something. And when you do that, it is either he said that you are getting annoying, you are nagging, you curse about everything and all these things. And a lot of female can relate to this. They just
mm,
don't know that that is what is happening at the time. But that is just how it is. As I said, it is the biggest card in the deck, right?
mm.
Yes.
This is very highlighting, and I'm learning so many things from this conversation. We want to highlight Genevieve, who is with us, and Tayasha. If you're here with us, remember to give the video a like. And of course, if you're new joining here, remember to subscribe and drop a comment in the chat so we know that you're here. If you have any questions or any comments and you want to join in the conversation, of course, leave your comments there and we'll read them for you. We are here talking about same grief, well, different loss, same grief. And we're looking at both the female and the male's perspective of going through a breakup and ending relationships. So one of the things I noticed, Pastor, is that when when that happens, when the male loses interest, that's a time we as females tend to cling on tighter, because we don't want to lose him. Uh, so I would suggest to my female friends that if it that's the case, uh, prepare yourself for what's coming next. Prepare yourself for the breakup, because even when you do it, sometimes we're the ones that do the breakup, but we're still so in love that it breaks us as well. Prepare yourself for it. One of the things I noticed too is that males sometimes go through that, because as you said, there are two types of women. And when the female that they're with doesn't cling tighter, some females just let go, or some females do play that card in the deck where they lose interest and they will stay around, not as long as the man, but they'll stay around until the man does something, and then they will initiate a breakup. So for that, I would recommend that when you're going through these periods, prepare yourself for what's to come, and recognize if you've gone through it. Forgive yourself for the denial that you felt, and know that this stage was completely normal. It's something that almost all of us go through during a breakup. When a breakup is going to happen, one of the things that we go through is denial, and we deny it's over, and we bring up all the good memories. That's the thing. When it's about to end, we cling tighter and we try not to let go, and we cling to all the good memories. And one of the things I noticed, Pastor, is that no matter who you are and how busy you are, if you are a priority, people will find time for you, the people who love you. So when they stop finding time for you, when you no longer become a priority, no matter how busy they are, they can't see you for 10 minutes. And if they do see it's something that they want, um, then you know that this is where it's heading more than likely. You can come back, but the chance of that is slim. And the person would have to want to come back for them to actually come back. Uh, but the thing too is that when a breakup is happening, we tend to cling to all the good memories to eliminate the bad, and we offer this view of the person as if they're perfect. Oh my gosh, he used to do these things for me. He used to drive me around. We used to look at the sunset. He used to bring me ice cream on Sundays because he knows I have cravings after I eat. These little things, we tend to bring them up back, but we don't notice that this was in the past and even in the chasing stage, and it's unlikely that they will ever happen in the future again.
Mm.
So one of the advice is that you write down when you've gone through that breakup and you need to let go. You write down or you list the things that would have made that relationship toxic. Okay, so he brought me ice cream on Sundays, but that was 2 years ago. He no longer spends any time with me. He places his interest over mine. He has no patience. Uh, you write down the things that were deal breakers for you that you put up with, and you forgive yourself for putting up with these things because it's a normal part of the process. Um, what's the process like for males when they realize that a female is not as interested as them, and they realize that this relationship is not going to work out even though I may want it to?
All right. What that process is, the male process kind of different because what they do push for females further away.
Mm,
Because when, for example, you have to push. I'm not just speaking about a female who is a player. I'm speaking about a female who really loves someone. For you
mm-hmm,
to get her at that point, for her not to want to be in a relationship with you, you must have pushed her to the limit. Now, this is what you have. Maybe before it reached that point, was saying to you that, boy, I miss the time we used to have, I miss we used to doing this. You weren't taking it for a grant. You were taking all those things for granted
For
because,
granted. Yeah.
yeah, I am writing a book on these things. The title of my book, it's the vagina, a bargaining chip. That's with a
Mm-hmm.
question sign there. And what you find out that some of the times, the point I'm trying to bring up across, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sex and all of that plays a whole different thing in certain relationship, especially when a guy a mess around, and a lot of persons experiment so much that cause it that. Now, before a guy get close to a female, like before start having sex with her or before anything like that, you would
Mm-hmm.
find out what that he would do anything, he would go around the world, because guess what? That is why I said vagina the bargaining chip. Because at that
Mm-hmm.
point, it's like she have something to bargain with. He's not close to her yet. So whatever she said to him to do, he will do it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But once you go down that road, once he's crossed that, then you have
Right.
nothing more to bargain with. you know. So guess what? Changes to that to our next person. He start taking her for granted. He start doing all the things. He start showing his true colors now. Where you find out that now when the female fed up and she's saying that I miss these days, I miss those days, and regardless of what she's saying, he's not paying any attention to that because guess what? Him already get what he want, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere in that line, maybe there's something about her different from other females. So he's also attached to her, but he is feeling as if he have her where he want her. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
paying her any attention. Now she's about to leave. She's fed up. Now you find out when she gone, she's about to go. All the things that she was telling him that she missed, he started doing them now. Now what that tell her is that he will only be the person that she wants when he feels like he's going to lose her. So guess what?
Mm-hmm.
It is the same thing that he will try. He will try to do all these things. And when she leave, you find out all a man him now know your grandmother number, him know your mother, him know your great, him know so much persons in your family number. Him start calling them and I tell them all kind of things because now he's trying to get close to someone for them to meet that gap. But R. Kelly says something in his song, when a woman fed up, there's nothing you can do about it. Powerful song. So it goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about that ego that they are trying to please. So that's where it is. Mhm,
It's interesting because in a man, an ego is almost too obvious. Like you literally see it all the time, and it's
mhm,
always there. And sometimes it hinders them, sometimes it pushes them forward. But it's
mhm,
there. It's there. And sometimes for males, it hinders them from having the life that they would have because they don't express how they feel or they don't say sorry. So be mindful of your ego, guys. Be mindful of your ego. What happens when a male is going through the breakup stage? So we talked last week about denial, the anger, the depression, the bargaining, and the acceptance. For males, they need, you mentioned earlier for those just joining, and if you're just joining, you can drop your comments in the chat, whether it's questions, whether you just want to add to the conversation. We're here to talk about, the truth about breakup. But you mentioned earlier that for a male, it takes a lifetime to probably get over a female that he really loved. And sometimes that includes counseling, but when they're going through the grief process, let's say they're going through the grief process, they just had a breakup, they just had a girl walk out on them, and they're going through the process of trying to wrap their head around this breakup. What are some things that you can say will help them to go through with this feeling, this pain?
The main thing, keep him from seeing that female. Because if him ever see her and she look happy, that is like a brick falling on his head, you know.
Mm,
So that is always one of the things, you know. Even if they are coming close to that point, the moment they see that female and she's happy, and no, a lot of times when she's like she leave, a guy would be telling themselves, they lie to themselves some way, so you have to stop lying to yourself. They lie to themselves in a way, she won't find anyone better than me. She's going to miss this and
mm,
she's going to come back. And then as him said that, him see her with somebody that he is not even in that person's league. Now you know what that do to him? That will
mm,
never come out of his mind. So even if he's in a relationship with another female, all he's thinking about what can he do for this female to see him again and all of that. Because guess what? Males, they love to do the walking out. Ego again.
mm,
They don't want to have that for say she did leave him. Because the truth of the matter,
mm.
a lot of males are more female than females. That may sound strange coming from a male, right?
You have to
And I'm
explain
not
that one for them.
I am not speaking in a funny way or anything like transgender or homosexuality. You see, male, they love to have up people. And they will have up a
Mm,
female for years. There's a saying in the dancehall circle where they say that you carry feelings over front. Males love to do that. They love to do that. So you find out now that that is one of the things that make this grieving process so difficult because they won't
mm,
let go. They are trying so much things to outdo the person that they see her with. Maybe they will just even spend some money to buy unnecessary things that they don't need just to show that they can compete all in this and all of that. And it goes back to what we said earlier again. It really have
mm.
nothing to do with the female that he lost. It just have to do with his feeling and that
And his
she
ego.
left him. Ego, yes. So that it's just one way. No matter how you put it or how you go around it, it's all about the ego. So you have to take care of the ego before any solution or any problem can be solved.
Mm, mm. I think that's important. And you keep stressing on the ego, and I know it's important for males to know that when you're going through this phase, your guards are down. You're easily swayed by the fact that she left or you left, and you're attached to them. And what I want you guys to know is that it's okay to go through the grieving process just like anybody else. We talk about the denial, the anger, the depression, the bargaining, and the acceptance. Not just for females. You as a male, you'll go through it as well. And you shouldn't feel as if you can't talk to somebody because, as Pastor mentioned, counseling is probably the best option for you because when you're going
I
through
should
something.
say, I should say they need
Mhm.
counseling, the counseling that they won't go to seek because they don't. Yes, continue. I just had to
Right.
put that in.
We have to put that in because
Yes.
because they're so scared to talk about their feelings and some of them don't know how. I I I had that experience where some of them just don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to talk about it because as I said, I don't have the experience of not having to share my emotions and share my feelings because that was not my experience. As a female. But for males, it's a bit different. If you cry too hard, you hear shut up. Not get nothing to cry about. Your girl, if they complain, it's the same thing. So they don't know how to share their feelings. So I always tell them to start with the I statement. I feel upset that this has happened. I feel angry that she left. I feel uh, I feel sad that it's actually happened to me and I'm going through this and I played such a fool. So it's always good to start with the I feelings, because your feelings are just as valid as anybody else's. And you going through that, it's important for you to have feelings, because when you don't have any feelings, a male and no feelings, trouble,
Mhm.
that is trouble. And you will mash up your life and mash up everybody else's life that you come in contact with, because there's no way
Yes.
you can control yourself. You feel upset, you feel angry, you feel depression, you're in denial, and you're bargaining. And when you go through all of that and you don't allow yourself to feel, it's not just a female immersing themselves in somebody else, but you don't allow yourself to feel, man. Some boys, they go on a spree. They go on a spree, Pastor, and they don't come back. They go on a spree. Keisha Monday, Tayasha Tuesday, Jane Wednesday, Nikki Thursday, and Jill Friday, and they go on a spree. So it's important that you have your feelings, and you might say, "Oh, sorry for Nikki and Jill," but that affects you as well. It's never good to go on a spree, on a sex spree, or a girl spree. You know, it's important to have your feelings. What are some ways that males can find a secure way to talk about how they feel, or to just have that safe space for them to really get over and to heal?
One of the thing is this: they have to first understand that they need help,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the biggest thing that persons
That's the first
deny.
step.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have to deny, because what you find out, if a male finds someone that he feel as if he can talk to, trust me, you cannot pay him to shut up,
Mm.
because they have so much things bottled up inside. So it's
They just
just to
have to let
get
it
over
go.
that place. Yeah. So that is one of the things I always have to say to persons. For me, why it wasn't so difficult for me? I wasn't born in the church. I wasn't always the person I am today. I was born in the ghetto. I am from a place called Marchpen Road in Spanish Town.
Mm.
No. And what you find out when you are raised in the ghetto, everybody are everybody friend. We have one another back. So if we are going through certain things, you can talk to someone about it, and you find out that you have that support system. So that is what made me strong. That is why I'm not afraid to express my feelings. That is why I'm not afraid to come and say it like it is. Most male wouldn't say the things that I'm telling you about male, because they feel that
Mm-hmm.
it would really hurt the ego again, you know. And you must understand that when you want help, you just want help, and there's nothing, because even if you suppress it, it is going to still be in there. And that
Mm-hmm.
is why I have a saying, it's a pressure bust pipe. And
Pressure
you see
buzz
that,
fine.
yeah, man, you see that thing that you talk about when a man say him gone pan a woman spray, it affects both him and the female. You know how it affect the female is that a guy is not going to, he's with Keisha tonight. He's not going to tell Keisha that he's going to be with Simone tomorrow night. He's going to tell
Mm.
Keisha that tomorrow night he will be working late, or he will have this to do. And the same thing he tells Simone about the other night, and everyone keep telling them until somebody find out and it get hurt, and they get hurt. How it affect him now? You see, at the end of the day, when it all explode in a theme
Mm-hmm.
face, him cannot go back to any of them. And maybe there
Mm-hmm.
was just one out of that lot where maybe him did like, and because of this now, it blew up on him. So now he's in a worse state that he was
Than
before.
it was before. Mm-hmm.
Yes, right? And these things cause a lot of depression. And when male I got through depression, they just give a smiling face when they are out there, but when they are by themselves. So it is important for a male to acknowledge that he need help, that he need help. R. Kelly said it. When a woman fed up, there's nothing you can do about it. So if you
Mm-hmm.
push the woman to certain extent and you see she gone and you are in that position that you know that you are grieving, just accept it. Get help. Even if you feel like one and two person are gonna laugh after you, the laughter must stop. But when you refuse the help, you are damaging yourself more than you even know. Yes.
And once again, Pastor, the whole issue of an ego comes out of it.
Mhm.
Because a lot of males they don't recognize that they need help. Yeah, man, she gone, but she never mean anything to me. And behind closed doors, you and I both know that's not true. Yeah, man, she gone, but me go all right. Everything go all right. Me always all right.
Mhm.
And you're not okay, and that's okay not to be okay. But what's not okay is not seeking help or not getting help or staying not okay.
Mhm.
And as we said before with the analogy of the broken bone, when a bone is broken and you don't fix it and put it in a cast and it doesn't heal
Mhm.
properly, that bone will set in a position that maybe hinders the functioning of your limb. But if you put
Mhm.
it in a cast and the cast is tight and it's uncomfortable and you can't use that hand, it's there for maybe a couple weeks or a couple months, and you don't like the fact that you have a cast on. But when it comes off and you regain full control of your hand or your limb, man, that feeling is like nothing
Mhm.
else. Of course, it'll never be the same. You will cramp on those cold nights, but still your hand is fixed. You can use it as you would. And it's just like that in when you're healing from a breakup or healing from a relationship that went bad. It's like you have broken your spirit and you now need to put it in a cast. You need to surround yourself with good people that can uplift you, people you can call on dark stony nights and say, hey, I don't feel well. I don't I'm so upset, and people you can just let off on, and they
Mhm.
understand that this is you laying to them how you feel. And you need to know surround yourself with the help that you desire, and sometimes that means counseling, that sometimes that means talking to somebody who you trust. Let's stress the importance of that. Somebody who you trust with your secrets. And you need to put it in a cast, and it's going to take a while, maybe a few months, maybe a few years. But when that cast comes off and you regain full control of your life and you are able to live and love the way you're supposed to and the way you want to, and know with the feeling that what broke your spirit can no longer break you in that way because you have learned your lesson, man, the life that you
Mhm.
will live, the happiness that you will find, uncomparable, incomparable. The joy that you will experience, of course, you'll remember it on lonely nights, and you'll say, "Boy, look how me did give her me all, and she leave me, and boy, look how me did give him everything, and him still end up leave." You will remember that when you get up in the morning, you won't feel this way, and you won't feel as upset as you would have 2 years ago or few months ago, because you're healing and you are redefining who you are as a person. So how does a guy redefine themselves and get up after a breakup? Because we established that for a female, you set a certain routine with your partner, with your male. He wants to watch football, you watch football. He wants to watch anime, you watch anime. He wants to eat late, you eat late. And it's not something that you made a lot of sacrifices knowingly, but it's something that you did without realizing. How does a male redefine themselves now that they are out
Mhm.
of a breakup and they want to find out who they are without this person?
All right. Let me address something you said earlier before moving on to that. And what I would like the males to understand, as you would say that they would know that they are going through certain things, and they would say, "Me
Mm-hmm.
all right, man, me good." Me good, me all right and all of
Everything
that.
all right?
I am challenging any male who is on the line tonight. Maybe you have this experience, maybe not. Maybe you are going through a situation. You see, when you are hurting and you cast it aside, even if you should find another female to blow off some of that steam on, let me put it this
Mm-hmm.
way. If a male, that female that he really likes, leave and he's grieving and he don't want to talk about it, but he feel like he's going to go around and mess around with a lot of other females to get over her, I am guaranteeing you, if he should meet a new female and he's in a room with her, getting
Mm-hmm.
ready to say, all right, I'm going to have a crazy night to get her out of my mind. Me, all right, she gone and she good. I guarantee you, if he's in there with that female and getting ready to maybe have sex or whatever, and he should look through that window and he would see that one that he's grieving over passing with someone else. Trust me, he would never have an erection that night.
Mm-hmm.
Never. That is how
Mm.
serious it is. You see?
Mental. It's mental.
Mental, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is why it is important for them to go and get this help. You made mention of finding someone you trust. You don't even have to find someone you trust. There are a lot of counselors out of your parish. You talk to them, you don't must see them again, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But just make that step. This is very, very important, you know. And some of these male, because they don't seek help, females are not having good husband anymore.
Mm.
Because guess what?
You
This
get
mental
damaged
thing
goods.
damage goods.
Damaged
And guess
goods.
what now? You spend your life trying to restore that person. You are not the Holy
Mm-hmm.
Spirit. You can't fix anyone. That is the reality. So they
And
have to
it's
get
hard. It's hard
Mhm.
too to fix someone that doesn't think they need fixing.
Exactly, right? So to what was the question you asked, the last one before I go back there?
Lord.
No,
I
I
think
did
I
just had
asked,
to address that.
hold on. I think I asked
Someone in the chat help we out now.
the conversation so sweet we forget. Um how do the males go about gaining new habits after they would have established old patterns with the person they've been with? How do they
All
redefine themselves?
right. It all go back to what we said earlier. They must get help because male,
Mm-hmm.
they have some habits that they never lose, even when they are in a relationship. No matter how much a man love you, he will give up everything for you. But don't trouble him on him football on Sunday morning or them thing they are. If he's a Manchester United fans and all, that's there. So they have a certain habit that
Uh-huh.
they never lose. And
Mm-hmm.
until they get that mental help that we're talking about, to get them back into this, to find back what they love, to do that until they are able to love again. Because if they
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, that space is going to left empty. You know, there's going to be a gap there, and you are sitting
Mm-hmm.
down waiting for something that will never happen. Like you are sitting down in Spanish Town waiting on snow to fall, and you have great hope of it falling, or or yes, something like that. It won't happen. So you have to get that help, and when you get that help, then you would try to fix that void by going back to some of your regular routines there, because finding new things that is not you, it is not going to help the situation.
Mm-hmm.
That would be just like painkillers. You are taking the painkiller, but when them wear out, the pain come back. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want that, right?
Mm-mm.
You don't want to be creating a symptoms that you will have to be treating, right? You want to just
Mm-hmm.
prevent having a symptoms that you will have to treat. And that is how it is. From its early out, you have to seek that intervention,
Mm-hmm.
right? But first, you have to acknowledge that you are hurting.
Mm. I think the most important thing and the most important point, Cheyenne is saying she's loving this conversation, and we love having Cheyenne here. Uh, for those who are just joining, I'm here with Pastor Wayne Clark, and we're going through the rigors of going through a breakup from both a male and a female perspective, and how it is that we get there. Get there. We see Annette. Shout out to you, Annette. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your presence here. Of course, share the conversation because we know that persons are in need of this help. And this is Speak Your Truth. We get as direct as possible. We are as down to earth as possible, and we are as loud about the truth as possible. I think the important thing to take from Pastor's point is that we need first to acknowledge that we need the help, because a lot of times we tell ourselves, oh, we're fine, and we live in that denial phase, and we live it and we sing it as long as we can. But you know when you're not fine. You know within yourself when you're not fine, when the things that you used to enjoy, you don't enjoy them no more. When you get upset, when you can't talk about the relationship without getting upset, when you can't be with someone else without bringing up the past relationship. And we find that a lot of persons, they go into relationship and immerse themselves with somebody else, and then they say, when arguments or when difficulties come up, I'm not going through this again, I went through this already. Or you see, this is what always happens. No, no, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't have to be that negative pattern. You can change that, and the way to change that is to get help for yourself. So there needs to be a time when you are single, not, not attached, not engaged with anybody, and just dedicated to you and your healing process. Sheldon Thomas, he's saying at some point a guy will realize that the life of running around is not for him, and the guys will find something that motivates again. It's if it's to work or build his future, but something will give him that push, and that's the hope that guys will get that push they need to realize that the life of running around is really not something that's sustainable throughout their entire life. And one of the things I established last week too, Pastor, is that in the process of our development, I think it's stage. I know you did probably intro to psych. Erickson's stages of development. There's stage 6 that has love versus intimacy versus isolation, and it's during that stage from 18 to 24 that if we experience like a heavy breakup, some people are stuck at that stage and they never move on. And the next stage, stage 7, I think is generativity versus stagnation. And what does that mean is either you move forward and you stay exactly where you are. And I met so many persons in their 40s, in their 50s, and when they talk about who they used to date and the baby daddies and the kids that they had with this particular man, or the relationship, that they get so upset, they get so angry, and they're not over that part of their life, and they never move on from there. It's almost like they're stuck living in the past over and over and over again. And that's one of the things we want to avoid. We want you to move on to next stage and actually grow, not remain stagnant, but to grow. um uh One of the things I wanted to ask is that uh, we are learning and relearning new habits. We are learning how to talk about our feelings, but how exactly does a guy open up? Because they've never really learned it. Nobody has ever taught them how to open up. In fact, I think society has taught them the opposite, to shut up. But what's one way that a guy can, open up?
All right. As you say again, society, as we started with the toxic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
where they feel like they're a man, so they have to do this. Some of the ways in helping a guy to open up, I can speak from my experience, is, where you find out that things will happen in your life. You have to have like someone who is really paying attention. Because to
Mm-hmm.
get a guy to open up, you have to really pay attention. You have to learn how to read him. You have to try to find out if what he's saying and his attitude are the same, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the times I can be here and I am talking to you and you are reasoning with me. Say, for example, you know me. I was with one of your friends, and then it happened that there is a breakup. I am sitting here talking to you, and I would be saying to you, like, well, you know, I'm good. And but the rate are, you know, but I just saw you go one of them things. I'm good now, man. You know, have to be at a place there where you are read to see if what me I say and what is happening is really true. You're so in your
Mm-hmm.
corner guy right there, so now him not have nowhere for run go. You
Mm.
know? If you can point to them and say, yeah, yeah, me hear you, you know, but no say I no so it go. And you can state why you know say I no so it go. Worse if it's a person where you know and you say you would identify, say, no, I know you this, and so you react when certain things happen. Then they have no choice but to open up because the whole masking thing, you know, at times, you know, a lot of guys, why they mask, I really help them ask for, you know, I don't know how to do it. Because a lot of male, when you see them be a certain way, they are screaming for help. But guess
Mm.
what? A lot of persons only see what they are showing. So you just work with them. And maybe because you work with them, they kind of like the attention there because the attention them really are looking up. So that kind of shield
Mm.
what is really happening. But you have to be able
Mm.
to see past that. Once you can see past that, you get them for working up.
Mm. Mm. So it's looking past their defenses, and especially if it's someone you love, and especially if it's someone, and not just love as in or it's your intimate boyfriend. It could be a
Mm-hmm.
family member, it could be a cousin, it could be a friend, it could be somebody who you look up to, because those persons need help as well. Um, and it could be anybody, but it's for you to know that their defenses are just defenses, and sometimes hard to differentiate between actual behaviors and defense mechanisms. And it's important for us to observe that. And one thing, as you mentioned, to distinguish that is that they are inconsistent. So the first thing they say, me rate her, but me good. So if you rate her, how you good? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what you do for good? How you reach the so? Tell me. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
so and their actions will tell you, because they can't. Not every male knows how to readily say it, and as I mentioned before, for those who are just joining, for males that find it difficult to open up, it's easier to use the I statements. So it's to validate that your feelings are important just as anybody else. And it's important for you also that sometimes when you're healing, you got to put on blinders. Like when the horses are racing and you put blinders on them, uh, so they don't look beside them, because horses are so easily spooked. They don't look beside them, but the only thing they can do is look forward. And when you're healing, sometimes you only have to look forward. You can't keep looking, oh, this person is going to think this about me, that person is going to think that about me. You have to look forward. And in looking forward, you also have to reflect inward. Where am I hurting? What do I need to do to get to a place where I feel healed? And it's gruesome. It's tireless. I'm telling you, the healing process. I'm not sugarcoating anything up here. Me not tell you say it's something that you jump a fence and you get over. It's nothing like that. It's gruesome. It's tiring. It's a back and forth. Sometimes you feel you're good, and the next minute you feel like you're dead. But the important thing is to know that at the end of the day, a few years from now, a year from now, a few months from now, that feeling of refreshment, that feeling of healing, you'll be so much better for it. And of course, opportunities will present themselves, because I know, for relationships when they break up, especially if it was very public ones. The thing about breakups, when relationships when they're public, the breakups are also quite public, whether you want it to be or not. And when people hear about it, everybody that was waiting in line is now going to come descend on you. But it's for you to know that it's not time to take on a new adventure with someone else. It's time to take on a new adventure with yourself, because you're gonna go into a relationship and immerse yourself in somebody else's life. You gotta know what you are now, who you are now as a person, before you head over heels with somebody else, and go and mess up yourself with somebody else, and go infect their lives and affect their lives. So you got to be sure about who you are. What are my habits? What are some things that, hey, I'm never ever gonna fall for again? Because it's human to make mistakes. It's humans to go through breakup. But one of the things that is not very smart is if we don't learn from more mistakes. So you think about the things that you
Yes.
never tolerate ever again. And when you finally meet someone that you want to be with, it doesn't mean it's gonna be the one. It doesn't mean that this person is going to be the person to heal your broken scars, to heal your wounded scars and your broken heart. No, that kind of pressure shouldn't be on anybody else. But this means that this is a person that you are going into a relationship with your both eyes wide open, knowing what to give and what to expect, and what you want to take and what you don't want to take. So it's important to know those boundaries. Trishara Campbell is saying, I think every guy knows how to open up. The problem is what happened after they do. Most guys try not to do so, because when they do, they are laughed at or teased about it, or at times taken for a joke. And that's so true. A lot of guys, they know how to open up. They've had girlfriends and sisters and cousins who offload on them so many times that they know how to do it themselves. But they're afraid of the backlash, and as Pastor said, their egos cannot take it. They're afraid of what happens afterwards. And it's for you to find that safe space for somebody to talk to. And for those who are just joining, Pastor said that there are many professionals, and I concur. There are many people who are trained to keep your secrets, who are legally binded to keep your secrets and not to backlash at you, but rather to help you and to help you move forward. And those persons are counselors, people who are there designated to help your development, or to ensure that you are performing at your best, that your well-being is up to par. Seek out help. um Naturally, Kashi, she said focus on you. And of course, I think that was my blinder point. Focus on you. You got to focus on you. You're not being selfish, you're not being mean, but you're just being self-aware that if you affect somebody else's life, it's gonna be disastrous for you both. Hi Makeda, I'm seeing you here. Thanks for joining, and Jason Campbell. um Ayoka says, I'm here because Abby shared your channel. Big up to Abby. Big up to always to my content people. Big up yourselves for sharing. Sharing is caring. So thanks for sharing. Of course, if you're joining here, you can share, like this video, and leave a comment. I appreciate comments. I appreciate you joining the conversation to talk with us about the truth about breakups, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and going through the process of breakups. Pastor, what vision can a guy have to get him through a breakup? What's the good in
Uh,
it? Because there's
all
good in
right.
everything, good, bad, and
Yes,
ugly.
there,
So
there,
what's the
there
good in
is
the
good.
breakup? We talk about the ugly. What's the good in the breakup?
It all depends on the breakup again, because there are a lot of breakup that for a guy it is not a good one. It is good for the female, but not
Mm-hmm.
for the male, because there are so many. Take for example, for me, before I came into the church, I was very, very, very good at making money. I just was not good at keeping it, you know. So there was a point where I had someone around me and I make the money, but
Mm-hmm.
she would help me to do sensible things with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a guy in a situation like that, when you lose someone like that, then it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? And that is just one example. There are times when persons have persons who they bring the best out in you, but you
Mm-hmm.
play a fool and lose the person. So a breakup like that is not good for you. However, there are breakups that are very, very, very good for some persons because you will be in a relationship and that person is bringing the worst out in you. You know, like for example, say you are in a relationship now and you know who you are, but that person is convincing you that you are someone else to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you start to believe it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, then it is good to get away from that. So when you break up in that is a positive breakup. It is only now, as we spoke about earlier, where persons need help because if you open up to someone and explain to them, then they would be able to show you that this was a good breakup or this was a bad breakup and things like that. So a guy now, in order for him to really know if it was a good or a bad breakup. It is back to what we said earlier. You have to seek help. And someone said in the chat just now, every man know how to open up. It's just the fact of what is going to happen afterwards. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be able to look past that. Because the only thing your ego do make you seem big in your own eye, but within you it a destroy you. So that is how you have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. And it's a destroyer.
Where the
They don't
stock,
want to be looked
uh,
at as weak. Oh, they don't want to be looked at as weak, which is why sometimes they don't share information or they don't share or talk about how they feel. Uh, Andreen is here. Big up, sending big ups to Andreen. And Jason is very vibrant in the chat, joining the conversation. So the guys are here. They are representing. They are here. Just want to flip it over to a girl's side. How do you know the good in a breakup? So Pastor said to know the distinction between a good breakup and a bad breakup, you have to seek a third perspective and an outside help. And that's pretty much the same thing for a female. You have to seek an outside perspective and help. But I know for a lot of relationships that females go into, when the relationship is ending and they cling to the male, and it's almost as if they hold on so tightly that in the end they were just tired and they had to let go. That's a relationship that ended a while back and it was just you carrying that relationship. That's a bad relationship. That's a relationship you can do without. But if it's a relationship where you made a mistake, you did something that you were not supposed to do, maybe it was cheating, maybe it was lying, who knows? That you did something wrong and the relationship ended, then you have to now examine, was that a good relationship? Did I just let go of a good person? Is there a toxic trait in me that doesn't allow another person to be in a relationship with me and be able to love me fully? Do I run people off because I think I don't deserve this kind of good life, kind of happiness? Am I unhealthy? So now it's a time for self-examination. So first you have to look at the circumstances. It's important to get a third person's perspective, because when we're having these emotions and when we're feeling these things, everything can be on such a high that the only thing you see is what he did. He did this, he did that, he did this, she did that. and you don't see your own responsibility in it. So you have to take a step back at times and really look at that. How do you know it's there's good in it? Most times you don't know until you've gone through the healing process. Then you said, boy, say it would have worked out. It really would have worked out in the long run. I would have been so unhappy, and I'm so happy it ended. Um and there is a saying we always say that everything happens for a reason, and most times it's because of a reason that these things happen. So sometimes it's really in the best interest of you and the person, and you just not seeing it, because as I said before, sometimes when we lose a person or when we're losing a person, all we can see are the good characteristics, all we can see are the things that they used to do, and that attachment, the habit we had of having them in our lives and enmeshing ourselves with this person. I say Trishar saying another thing about opening up is if the person can handle. Most times on both sides, when either person opens up, the other person doesn't know how to react and sends people back in their shell. Whoa. I think that's powerful, Pastor. I think that's
Mm.
powerful because sometimes when people open up, we don't know how to react, and we lash out at them, and it sends them right back into their shells. So sometimes
Mhm.
there are times when a guy is trying to express himself, and maybe the girl lashes out and gets upset. How dare you
Mm.
think like that? What you mean you're thinking about that? And you make him feel as if his thoughts are not valid, instead of
Mm.
saying, okay, so you're thinking that way, how can I help you to stop you from thinking that way, or going that way, or doing that thing? Having that open communication with them. And for sometimes for guys, when a female tries to express their feelings, they say, boy, she annoying, she miserable bad. Every little thing she knock, 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 knock. But actually they're trying to open up to you, and all you do is shut them down. So it's important for us to recognize when somebody is trying to open up and tell us how they feel and communicate that information with them. And it's important for us to react in a way that is helpful towards them, that will not allow them to go back in their shell, but to come out,
All right.
have a
This is
safe.
it. As we spoke earlier about what is a good breakup or a bad breakup.
Mhm,
Now, if you find yourself in a situation like that, when that end, that would be a good breakup. Because if you are with someone that you can't talk to, that they feel this or they feel that. You see, a man will really love a woman to a certain extent. Trust me, she
mhm,
can't annoy him. She cannot annoy. And a male will tell you that. When a female start get annoying to a male, then she
mhm,
know that her time is expired in that relationship. You
mm,
know, because what you have to find out, you see, when it comes down to interest, even if, just take for example, people will tell you about a mother and a child. No
mm,
baby is ugly to a mother. No
mhm,
baby. Every baby pretty to a mother. So it is the same thing in a relationship. A guy will really care about a woman. She never chat too much. All when she talk crap and music to his ear. You know?
mm,
So anytime a male or a female find themselves in a situation where you see that boy she a nine, boy this, you know that something
mhm.
is wrong there.
Something is wrong.
Something is wrong there. Yes. That is very important to know.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm. So I want our females to recognize that, because a breakup, we're talking about going through a breakup, right? But a breakup doesn't start when that person actually breaks up with you.
No.
Most times it begins from before. It's a constant argument. It's saying that, oh, this person is annoying, it's ignoring, it's being left unseen. And as I said before, no matter how busy a person is, no matter who they are, of how important they are, once you're a priority, you will know. If you're not a priority, you will also know. But the thing about it is we don't want to accept it. We're still in that denial phase. And I'm hearing I'm seeing some comments in the chat. Uh Keaton is saying, well said. Oftentimes we ask for someone to open up whilst not being mentally prepared, thus the relationship takes a nosedive. And we see that very often for a lot of females, especially if we find something fishy, and we will nag the male until they say something. And when they do say what's really on their mind, we're not prepared for it. And we react, we lash out, we react badly, and that just takes a nosedive. Um, I know for males as well, if they feel like something is happening and the female expresses themselves, boy, you always a complain about this, boy, you're miserably, all this time, and this you really I think about, that this you really I got talk about, you know, and the relationship does take a nosedive from there because I feel like I can't tell you how I feel. And what happens is that if I find somebody that wants to know how I feel, even without me saying, hey, you know, I feel this side of way, hey, trouble there. Because if I find a listening ear where you're not the listening ear, I'm gonna start going to that listening ear when I have problems, and the relationship will take a nosedive. McLaren just passing through. Hey, remember to leave a like, and of course share with those who need this conversation, because a lot of people really do.
You said something very important just now,
Mhm,
where the person at home is not listening, and there's someone else who is listening. And some of the times, persons might blame the female that me there and she gone over there. So when you are the one who are not who was not listening, we must understand that God created us as social beings. So we must socialize. Whenever we feel like we cannot socialize with the person that we are supposed to be in love with, or that person that loves us, it defeats the purpose of what God would have created us for. And it
mhm,
sends us in a situation where we can't handle. And you're just looking for a listening ears. So
mhm,
a listening ears might have passed and you find out say a listening ears that you just log on to it. And guess
mhm,
what? This person now not really get your attention anymore. It's not because you not like them no more or anything like that. But guess what?
mhm,
A listening ears over here, so So guess
mhm,
what? You will spend your time with the listening ears and you find out say you're there on this person. And some of the times you don't even have any physical or emotional attached to the listening ears. It's
mhm,
just a listening ears. But because
mhm,
the listening ears is so available, more time is being spent with the listening ears than the actual person that you are with. And you know
mhm,
what that's doing now? Creating a problem. So guess what? The person who refused to listen, that forced that person to spill what they have to spill in someone else's ears, is now hurting from a situation that he would have created in the first place. And now, guess
mhm,
what? He's going to turn that around to seek pity. Having you sorry for him, you did something wrong, you did this, you did that, when all he needed to do in the first place is to listen. So you see,
mhm,
some of the times, all you have to do is just listen. It avoid the unnecessary problem that you will have to face.
mhm,
It better you just listen. It won't cost you a thing to listen. Even if you think of foolishness, listen, because there is some sense in every nonsense. It never
mhm,
hurt you if you listen. Just do that
mhm,
and things will be better.
mhm, mhm, mhm. I think that is very important because that's ended a lot of relationships. Persons who do not listen, and persons who listen with the intent to respond and not necessarily listen with the person to the person with any empathy or care. They just listen in order to argue what the person has said. And that's not listening. It's almost like you're just hearing but you're not actually listening to the person. So a lot of relationships that ended would have been okay if that person had just listened. And looking in the chat, Tashara is saying sometimes it's a point where you don't 1 minute to keep you both apart. I'm not sure I'm understanding that. Want 1 minute to keep you both apart. Um, uh, Jason is acknowledging, is asking a question. What about the four personality types in a relationship? I don't know about you, but I need to brush up on my four personality types.
Mhm.
But I know the basic concepts of them. Um,
Mhm.
and they're pretty important. They're pretty important in understanding yourself and understanding
Mhm.
your partner. I know for a type
Mhm.
A personality, that person is much more organized. That person, will want to do things a particular way, and they have obsessions over the smallest things. And normally, a person like that goes with somebody who's more relaxed, who's less focused on the organization and more on, how do I get the most out of the time I have, while having fun at the same time. And it's
Yes.
important to acknowledge the differences. So when she or he starts acting like their personality type, you don't say they throw a different shade and you don't know who this is, or you find this annoying, or
Mhm.
you find this nagging. It's part of their personality. That is part of
Yes.
their type. And one thing too to acknowledge about relationships, we're acknowledging that they didn't work if that person didn't meet your love language as well. So we have several different love languages. I think we have gifts, quality time. Um, I don't remember most of them, but
Mhm.
you have persons who prefer to get gifts, persons who prefer persons to spend quality time with them, persons who prefer when people do something for them, persons who prefer what they hear, and persons who prefer what they see, I believe. Um and sometimes when your love language is not met in that relationship, you know that it wasn't a good relationship. When that partner finds your love language annoying, or when that person doesn't meet that particular criteria. And Jason is saying we need to show the other person that they are important to us. And one thing about, as I said before, about a person, if you are priority, they will know. And it's something that I've been stressing because it's something that I've experienced. I remember being in one particular relationship, and this person, he got a new job. He was working two jobs at the time, and I felt sorry. He worked long hours, and then he would go home and he would have paperwork to deal with, and then it's the same cycle every day. And I felt really bad. I was in the relationship and I wasn't getting any time or attention. And at first I was like, okay, he's busy. And then I realized, well, he's playing games so how many hours in the night. He's chilling with friends. He's going to games. He's doing all these things. He has time to talk to everybody else, and I didn't even get 5 minutes. And I scheduled, okay, spend 1 hour per week. Remember, there are 24 hours in a day, 5 days, 7 days in a week. And I don't know how many hours is that. I'm not good at math, but I asked him to spend 1 hour per week with me. And when he came, he was on his phone. I was cooking, probably cooking dinner, and he would be on his phone playing games. And then we'd eat, and then he would go home. And I wouldn't get my hour. And persons kept saying, oh, he's busy. Oh, he's that. He's this. But when you are a priority, you know you are a priority. But when you are not a priority, you also know. But we are in that denial phase. And it took months for that relationship to end. And for me to realize that I was never a priority for months. He left the relationship a long time, got up and left, and I was still there holding on to the fragrance that probably lingered behind. He left a long time, and I was still in the relationship. So for persons who have been through that, the denial phase, it's hard. It's hard, it's gruesome, and you'll go through it, and those emotions you feel are real, they are raw to the point where you feel that somebody pulled their hand in your chest and rip out your heart and cut it to pieces. That's how raw it's gonna feel. But at the end of the day, when you pick it up off the ground, brush it off, and put it back together and sew it in the broken places, it'll never be the same again. But I can guarantee you it'll work much better because now you have the scars to remind you that these are the things that I'm not going to accept any longer. These are the things I want, and these are the things I don't want. And to get to that place where you can actually heal, you have to be able to be by yourself and be able to be single and focus on your healing. Put those blinders on and focus on you for a while. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Pastor, how how long do you think is an acceptable time for healing to take place? I know for females it's a lot easier because we have our emotions all out there. We get it out, we ball it out, we cuss it out, and we complain every chance we get, and we get it out. For males, they lock it in, they keep the emotions in. So I know the healing process for them might be a little bit slower. It might take a little
Mhm.
bit longer. And psychologists recommend that persons stay out of a relation after a relationship would have ended. You stay out of a relationship for I think the next 7 to 12 months, maybe, or 8 months. I think they're about. But how long for males do you think is an acceptable time for them to just stay put and focus on their healing?
As we said earlier, it depends on the breakup. If it is
Mm-hmm.
a breakup with a person, say the male get tired of her and just walk out, him can jump back in a relationship the next day, because as that relationship, he maybe walked out today, but that relationship maybe ended
Ended a
a
while.
year ago, right? But in a case where it's a relationship where he was into it and he lose this person, I don't encourage any female to go back into any relationship with that person until he gets help, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because what we spoke about earlier, this female will only be a placeholder. Like in mathematics, you have I don't even remember what kind of math that. She will be a placeholder. And if things ever fix up back with that first female, is back to her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm encouraging the females, don't be any placeholder for any guy. When you are
Mm-hmm.
going into a relationship and you find out that that the person had a breakup, you see, if you
Mm-hmm.
find out that he was not the one that left that relationship, try
Mm-hmm.
to sneakily find out as much as you can because you can just might be being a placeholder while he
Mm-hmm.
hoping that things work out with that
With the
female.
other person.
Yes. So the point is you can't put a time on it when it comes to the male, right? Because male refuse to seek help.
Mm.
That is the thing.
Mm. And when they would have sought help, when they would have taken the healthier route, got their emotions out of out in is there like a timeline that they can say, okay, let's go back into a relationship? Do they know, first of all, when that healing takes place and they are able to go back into a relationship without messing up that other person or messing up even further with themselves?
The thing is, the difference with male and female, as soon as them get it out of them system, them ready again. Male
Mm,
are quicker to accept things if they allow the help they need. Take for example, a female will be going somewhere and maybe she have something like maybe someone said to her, say, your nose big, she would have try use every makeup to try hide that.
mm-hmm,
A male on the other hand, them say your nose big, and him looking in the mirror 2 times. Oh, I just a big nose, me can't do nothing about it. And he just accept that and gone. So it is the same thing when they are going through things. If they can get someone, if they're woken up and someone take them through that to show them, maybe point to them, say, say you are the fault why this happened. So here, when you go forward, you're trying to do this so again, or point out certain things. If they accept all of that and get that help, them good
Mm-hmm.
instantly, man. Them good. Remember we said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, female are like oven, men microwave. Right there. Yes, so that's just how it is.
I
Yeah,
think
man.
that's important. That's important for us to recognize too. And for those who are just joining, the analogy that was given is important for males. If when they get to a place slowly, but when they have feelings. um but when they're ready to accept it, they're ready to accept it even faster. But for females, you have to warm us up, you have to heat us up to the point where the oven is ready, put us into bake. And when the cake is ready, and the cake maybe spoil and breakup happen, you have to cool down the cake again in order to take it out. To take it out. So sometimes we go into a relationship reluctantly, and when we come out, man, it's hard to let go. But when it's done, it's done. Especially if you are trying and you're seeing that you're the only person left in the relationship that is actually trying. If he says to you, "B, me no depend up and up, but me a try now," you know that he's probably going through something, and he doesn't know how to readily accept your help as yet, and he wants you to stick around. If he tells you that, be me I try, but me not depend up and up. But if it's a case where he genuinely does not want to spend time with you, genuinely does not, is not apologizing for it, him gone. Especially if it's a case where you are trying for a period of time to get him to be in a relationship with you, you know that he's gone. And the thing, as you mentioned earlier, Pastor, when you threaten to leave, that's when the behavior start change.
The
But it's
knight
for
in
you
shining
to,
armor.
eh?
He becomes the knight in shining armor.
Night in shining armor, oh so bright he shines. But if
Yes,
it doesn't remain consistent, you don't know. It's just an act, and it will go eventually. Uh, so it's not for you to threaten to leave every 5 seconds, but it's for you to recognize when it's an act or when it's something that genuinely wrong with him and it has nothing to do with you, or when he just genuinely just get up and left the relationship and gone about his business. But his body is still here and his mind is gone. Um, so those are some important things to note. Um, Especially when going through a breakup. And one thing I wanted to pull in, Pastor, how does a Christian person go through a breakup? How because as Christian people, we are seen as, oh, sharing is the Christian hope. Yay! We're supposed to be happy, we're supposed to be cheerful. So going and bawling and being depressed and getting angry over a breakup and lashing out does not seem in the Christian picture. But how does a Christian heal from a breakup with a Christian male or Christian female? How does God play in the midst of that? Because we can't leave him out of this.
all right. When it comes to a Christian and a breakup, that one is really rough because the difference with outsiders and the Christian, when, especially for the female, when she's going into a relationship, maybe she put 3/4 of her life on pause, to build around this thing. So
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Everything that she was planning before, the plan changed now because this is what you are working towards. So your whole life now surrounds this. You know, maybe you have already made the plans, you would have written down and you would have made the entries in your diary and you would foreplan things that is going to happen. But then you have a breakup now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you planned, remember, you would put a lot of things on pause. No, not put on pause because you never had a plan for go back to that. You create this because remember, Christians, they live on hope, they live by faith. So when they are going to something, they
Mm-hmm.
go towards it with faith. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the times when it not work out, it destroy a lot of person
Mm-hmm.
because your faith supposed to work, your faith supposed to be whole, you know. So now when you put everything in this and then it not happen now, it's one of the biggest disappointment. You see, to get back that person and that place, it takes a lot of praying, it takes a lot of counseling, and that is why you will find out a lot of female in the church. Nothing is wrong with them. They are good female. They are financially secure. A lot of things, but they just buy themselves. Them no want no man, you
Mm.
know, because they take these things serious. So some of the times they just continue on that line and them not really want to have nothing. They just close their mind to things. So that
Mm-hmm.
is the difference with the inside. So they deal with breakup a bit different. They will get over it, but when they get over it, it takes a miracle at times for them to really go back into a relationship. And that is one of the things. Yes.
I think it's important to note too that when you're going through the pain of a breakup, when you're going through the pain of a breakup, you cannot do it alone. And with these feelings that we have, these human emotions, sometimes they overwhelm us. And it's to cling to somebody who is there and somebody who's always going to be there. And the only consistency, and people always say the only thing that is consistent in life is taxes and what? Salvation, something like that. And
Mhm.
I never truly understood it until I lost the ground under my feet. I realized that the only thing that I can consistently say I have is God. And there are times when you will need to cry out to Him. We talk about having that safe space. That's one of the safest space to be, to really, really, truly get down and cry out to Him. Yeah, get down on your knees. When you really feel the depths of your soul being broken, and you cry and you literally say, God, I can't. When you feel that sort of brokenness, the only thing that really can help you is His power. And the Bible says that in His strength, in our weakness, He's made strong. And it's not until you get weak that you realize how true that statement is, when you really feel like you can't, when you feel like you're not living. And as you said before, Pastor, for a lot of females, they take, a lot of very serious females, they take these things seriously. And what happens in a breakup is that you can't even see what's in front of you. The most frustrating thing for me is that, and I mentioned this last week, I'm a planner. I plan things to the detail. I'm very detailed. And I could imagine a whole life. And then I could no longer see that life. I looked in the future and all I saw was this blank, was this black sheet, was like a veil was over my eyes. And for me, that was the most frustrating thing ever, not to be able to see a future, because I didn't see a future without this person in it. And now I had to reimagine and reprogram my brain in order for me to accept that this was no longer a possibility. This was no longer a hope. And that was hard. That was gruesome. But the thing about it is that when you get through that, not only are you able to be more secure, when you heal properly, you're able to see yourself, okay, if it happens, it happens. And if it don't, I'm okay with that. So if it happens, because the thing about life, and one thing we can be sure about, is that life is unsure. It's not consistent. There are things that are gonna be thrown our way that are simply just curveballs, things we just gonna have to jump aside and swim under and dive under and jump over. And there are things in life that will irk us. We plan our plan, and it never works out. But we have to acknowledge when we go through that, we're able to acknowledge that if it works out, I'm okay with that. And if it doesn't, I'm also okay with that, because you have your trust in somebody who has the master plan. And if you can relate to going through anything, not just breakup, it's after you've gone through it, you realize, hey, this was actually for the good. I actually learned from this. This was an experience and this was an exposure that I needed to become who I am today. I'm only strong because in those moments I had to be strong. I had to be, or else I would have been stuck at stagnation. I wouldn't move forward. I wouldn't have produced the future I have today. And so it's important for you to recognize that in those weak moments, in those points that we don't feel the strength and we don't feel the vigor, that is when you deeply and in depthly put your trust in somebody who has strength. And you might be saying, well, that's not a person, that's not a human, that's not somebody I could talk to. But I promise you that when you call on him, when you don't have the words, but all you have is a call, and when you do call on him and you feel his presence near, it's the most comforting thing for you. And through that
Mhm.
healing process, having God, especially if you're a Christian, it doesn't mean you're baptized and bona fide, but it just means that you believe in a higher power, you believe in God. When you have that comfort, it's so much different than when you don't. Because when you don't feel that hope, and you go off the rails and you invest in other things, drugs, go on a sex spree, anything that will make you feel differently than how you're feeling now. But when you
Mhm.
have that hope that things are gonna get better, I don't see it, I don't feel it, and maybe a little bit I don't believe it, but things are gonna get better because the Bible tells me so. Jesus tells me so. Um, Everything that has happened in my life points to things going wrong and then it being all right. And that's just life. It's the ebb and flow. It's good and then it's bad. I don't want to talk too much into it because it's supposed to be a conversation. Looking at
Yes.
Chishara's comment, she's saying, how do you trust someone else when the person before took God off the cross just to show you how much they, they claim they love you, then walks out on you when someone else comes along and tries to do, I'm guessing, the same thing? How do you trust? Pastor, you want to take this one? How do you trust
All
after
right.
that?
All right. This is it, right? First thing you have to do, you cannot allow someone else to take your happiness. That will be unfair to you. So not because that person steal a part of you and left with it, you are not going to hang yourself on that and to say he did this, so I'm not going to trust someone else. Because guess what? He's gone. He's happy. Maybe he's not even thinking about you now. So that is very unfair to you to be doing that to yourself, to say that I can't trust this one because maybe that person damaged you and you are going to shut out the person who is to come in to help you to heal. So
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned there, it is very important to trust God in the process. Don't trust the person, trust God, because him take God off of the cross and said this and that. But this time you're not going to trust his words. You are going to trust the direction that God is leading you. Because at the end of the day, when you are going through something, you can use drugs till you're weak. You can go from one sex partner to another. You can spend, you can win food and all of that. We were all creating the image and the likeness of God, and your soul will remain restless until you make that contact with God, and that is where it all starts. So once you can have that relationship with God, regardless of what that person do, whatever them thief and gone, God can restore it and put you back in that position to love again. Because as we say, it is unfair for you to make because this person did something to you. They are
Mm-hmm.
somewhere happy and you are here mourning
Mm-hmm.
over what they did to you. That is unfair to you.
I concur. Like you cannot control what another person does and what another person thinks, how another person respond. Um, but what you can do is control how you respond and how you think. And I promise you, people will come and they'll say things, but it's really in their actions. And even when they do things, you still cannot control if they do change. But you control how you respond, and that's a part of healing. Finding out that your happiness depends on you, and what you do doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is going to do the same thing. It doesn't mean that they're going to return the same love. And we have this toxic mentality of thinking that if we give persons, if we love them enough, they will love us back enough. But that's not necessarily true. Trishara is saying, how do you do as a what do you do as a question when you realize that you keep dating Christian after Christian and they keep hurting you, but you know of outsiders who treat you way better than any Christian ever did?
All right. Not because someone is going to church, it means that they're a Christian. And one of the things we have to understand is that what we look for. Because some of the times now they are a good person, who will treat you good, but they are not in
Mhm,
your league. The league thing, because we have this league thing. Me not talk to him because he's in a certain league. Me not deal with that one there because so and so. These are some of the things that cause the problem. So most of the times persons go after what the eyes can see. I always say this to person. The eyes weren't created for seeing. The eyes were created for looking, right? You have to see with all your senses. So if you are
mhm,
trying to see with your eyes, then you are blind as a bat. And that is what reach a lot of person. So you have to know this, not because someone is going to church, mean that they're a Christian.
mm,
Mm.
mm. I think that's important to note. And sometimes we compare and contrast, but it's for us to really recognize and to ask ourselves, this person treats me good now, but when I get into a relationship, if it does end up in marriage, can I live with raising children in a non-Christian household? Can I live with this for the rest of my life? And it's for us to know that in the chasing stage, everybody treats everybody good, but it really comes down to what happens in the long run. How do they react? And as Pastor said, not everybody who goes to church pretty and look dress up have Christ in their soul, and that's so true. I've met persons on the outside who are more Christian than those on the inside, but the truth of the matter is, it really comes down to what you can sustain as a Christian, and really ask yourself, is this something that I can live long term with? Is this something that I'm going to regret doing if I date on the outside? Um, and rather, uh, it's not a perception of just, Christian men behave a particular way. All men behave a particular way. All women behave a particular way. But the highlight is that they should behave differently because they're Christians, but not everybody has Christ in their soul. So it's to recognize who have Christ in their soul, who has Christ in their soul from the get go, and who is just playing church and playing pretend and playing dress up. And for that, you have to date. And by dating, I
Yes.
mean getting to know, not intertwining yourself sexually and personally with somebody, but getting to know them and know who they are, know their habits, know their lifestyles, know what they want to do, realize how they treat each other, persons around them, realize how they treat their family, how they treat their friends, and really get to know,
And
right?
let me say
And
something. Let me say
mhm,
something quickly about seeing guys on the outside who will treat you better.
mhm,
Yes, the guys on the outside, they will treat you better until they get what they want. That is the
mm,
difference. I was not born in the church. And this may not but be something that I am proud to say. But I have taken a lot of females out of the church back
mm,
then in that sense. So it is never recommended because at the end of the day, when you get close to a guy out there, remember, He's not guided by the same principle as you are.
Mm-mm.
He did not take baptismal vows. He did not, so he's not under any commandment of of God anyway at all. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to play by his rules, not he's not going to play by yours. And I am telling you, as an experienced person who was out there and how we look at the things. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when a guy outside no really get close to a female in the church, he respects her. Trust me, he really respects her and he will treat her well. But if you allow that to go into a relationship, just do the math for yourself. Don't look at the initial stage. Look at how many you see would have dated persons outside. Me not talk about a man and a woman where they in a relationship and then she baptized and he's still out there. So the two of them
Mm-hmm.
together. Me I talk about you leave, going out there, start a relationship. Just do the maths for yourself and see how much of those go into marriage and last. That's all you need to do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's powerful. I'm opening the floor for any questions. This conversation has been really interesting. Or if Pastor has anything else to add, but just recapping while I see if our audience has any question for us. Um, and as usual, remember to comment and like the video so that more persons can see and be a part of this conversation. Jamisha is just coming in. We've been talking about breakups, the truth about breakups from both sides and knowing how to get over the healing process. We established going to counseling as an important step. And before you do that, you have to acknowledge that something is wrong. We established that males, they have a tall ego, and that ego often get in the way of them getting actual help. And females often cling too long and wait around for the relationship to end, and it never does, or for the relationship to go back to the way it was, and it never does, and so it ends. And we touched on some important topics such as how do we know that it was a good relationship, or was it, good that it was over, it was a bad relationship. And we looked at the fact that, sometimes we walk out, or we let a relationship end on persons we care about because we were taking them for granted. And so the relationship would have ended. And there's also the bad relationships that you look back and you realize that, boy, if this did work out, I would not have been in the place I was, and I'm thanking God that it never did. And we acknowledge that in our Christianity, we also experience healing in a different way, because in our weakness, God is there to provide strength. And also the fact that many times when we look at, I think it was Trishara that asked a question, when we look at how others are treating females on the outside, males are treating females on the outside, and we look at how Christian men break our hearts after and after again, we are tempted to go out, and Pastor encouraged us to stay because of the games that are being played. We learned a lot about mind games tonight. I think I recapped. Anything else to recap, Pastor? Anything else I missed out? Anything else you want to add?
I am sitting here wondering if you recapped all of that from memory.
I did. I'm telling you, I'm very detailed,
Yes,
which is
man,
one
you
of the
know.
things. I think this conversation is important because of how detailed I am. It's
Yes.
hard for me to let go of things. So this has been an enlightening conversation for me as well. It's good to have a detailed memory for when you're studying and when you're
Mhm.
having conversations like these. But when you've been through experiences, it's hard to let go of the bad experiences or differentiate it, because I remember everything. So this
Mm.
has been an enlightening conversation for me as well. If anybody has any question, anybody has anything to add, or if you have anything to add, Pastor, we're open. The floor is open.
Yes, and it is always good to have enlightening discussions, because when you find out that we tend to stay away from the real stuff. We don't really like addressing them. So some of the times them we just sweep them under the carpet, and we just make them stay right there. But
Mm-hmm.
it's best to talk about these things. And
Mm-hmm.
even so, right, I am sure there are a few males online, right?
Mm-hmm. They're
uh,
here.
uh, and how much mail you see really comment or something and say, I have had that experience or I have had that experience. You see? So that is just the whole thing. While if you are go through something and there are females there, they will tell you, I remember that or something like that. So that is just something with male. That's how we are.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of keep a friend of mine, not a friend of mine, I'm lying there. I think it was I don't remember which one of the black comedy I was watching, and they were telling him to go get counseling, and he said, "No, black men don't get counseling. They talk about their problems at the barber shop, you know." And that is just
I think I saw that
something.
joke.
Yes, man. So it's just something like that. We don't talk about things as much, but we will sit, and we'll take note. And when we go home, whatever was applied to us, we will
Mm-hmm.
try it. And we will try seek. We love the home remedy, build our own stuff, because when you create home remedy, nobody will know so you did have
We
this
will have
problem
to
that they
know.
had to treat. So you create
Uh-huh.
home remedy and hope them work. And some of the times you take wrong medication. So yeah, treat something else, and maybe the medication the way you take for it I give you a different problem. So that is
Mm-hmm.
why a person got down a certain part some of the time, refusing to get the right help. And that is where
Mm-hmm.
the problem comes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I think Keaton, as some males representing Jason, Keaton, Carl is just listening. Keaton is asking the question, what about dealing with rejection? How do men deal with rejection?
Hey, trust me, male don't deal with rejection well. Let me explain that. You ever hear the saying, fox can't get the grape, then say it's sour? A male, yes, a male will be trying to get a female, and him will do it for a while. And when she reject him and him can't get through to her, she's the worst person ever. I was listening to a situation with a young lady, and I think she has a certain sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he was looking her, I mean, months and months and months, and she was telling him that she was not interested in a relationship. And he kept doing it, persisted. And she said it's not that he's not a nice guy, but she's not interested in a relationship. And he tried until he really realized that she was serious. And you know what the guy said to her?
Mm.
She need to go get help for her sickness, because if she not get help for her sickness, nobody now go married to her. That was the guy who was trying to get through to her. So
For
this is
months.
how, yeah, this is how males deal with rejection. You are the most beautiful person when they are trying to get you, but when
Mm-hmm.
they can't get you, trust me, you're the worst person. And that is something we need to learn how to work on as well. As a male, we need to learn how to work on that.
That's something that's very important because I remember even when going to high school, I would pass the guys on the road. You know this, the
Mm.
spray, the spray on the hip. I remember I'm walking and holding my little head straight, and then say, "You see you think you're nice 'cause you're brown," and all of a sudden, I'm the girl who doesn't want to respond because I think I'm nice,
Exactly.
and it's been that way for a while. But if they have that feeling, because we're acknowledging that this is something they do, and we acknowledge that, but if they have the feeling, how do they deal with rejections in recognizing that persons, have the right to say no.
No, the thing is this, it's back to the ego again. Not
Mm-hmm.
every time a female refuses to accept your proposal, it's a rejection.
Mm.
No, there's difference with a rejection and someone just telling you that I am not at that place right now. This is not what I want. So
Mm,
it is just for someone to understand, but they see everything may I say we, Sky man as well. We see everything as rejection. When someone
mm,
can just honestly be telling them, maybe a female is saying, I just had a breakup and I am not in that frame of mind to go through that
mm,
again. And instead of understanding that it's circumstantial, she reject me, you know.
mm. It's
So we have
about
to,
you.
yeah. So we must understand that not every time a female say no, it is a form of rejection.
Mm.
If we
And
understand that, yeah, go ahead.
mhm. I'm saying if we flip it over and ask how do females deal with rejection as well, guys don't think it's okay to reject them, so we don't have any that as often as we would have in the flip scenario. But just saying that it's okay for guys to say no if they don't want a relationship, they don't want anything that a female is pushing.
Hmm.
Sometimes a female may lash out as well, and before you lash out, really think about it. Sometimes it's really not about you, most of the times when people do things, it's really really not about you, it's about them and their thought process and their insecurities. So sometimes a female gets upset and apologies, I live by the roadside. They get upset and then they start to look inwards and saying, oh, maybe he would like me if I'm fatter, maybe he would like me if I'm more fluffy, maybe he would like me if I'm slimmer, maybe he would have liked me. And you start picking at yourself and thinking it's about you, but it's just for you to recognize, Keaton, in dealing with rejection, that most time it's not about you, it's about how they are feeling and their thought process, their own insecurities and their own circumstances, and sometimes they're really not for you. So if a person is saying no, most times they're really not for you. And there's no need for you to feel like, okay, she's reject me, it's because of this reason. um
Hmm.
I'm seeing if there is any more questions in the chat. uh it's been a rather interesting discussion. um I don't know if you have anything to add, Pastor, but it's been a rather interesting discussion. I'm just seeing if anybody else wants to join in or chime in on the discussion or wants to ask a question, makes make a comment.
What I will do, I will say this in closing. The key thing, as the saying is, prevention is better than cure,
Mm,
right? Some of the times we have to reach that place where you learn how to prevent certain things than to have it to deal with. And this goes for both male and female. I think at times persons don't really understand their worth, why they
mm,
fall in some situation.
mm,
Because I'm going to speak to the female right now. 3/4 of the guys that you're allowed to break your heart, to have you at a place, the next couple of the years from now, they are not even going to be in the same. How would I put this now as to not seem like I'm saying person's better than person? That's not really what I'm saying. But
mm,
couple years from now, they're not even going to be in the same league as you are, you know?
mm,
And as I say, I'm not speaking in a sense where it is better than one. But
mm,
where you are now, in your thought process, in your mind, and all of that, if you could see where you are going, then you wouldn't allow certain persons to come in to disrupt all of that. Because most of the times, all you are seeking is comfort. And that comfort not come with nothing else other than comfort. How can someone contribute to you mentally, spiritually? You have to look at these things. You are going to be having sleepless night over a guy. Ask yourself the question, what if I am doing an assignment and I
Mhm.
can't answer question number 4 or number 5? Can he help me? Can he at least do that? There must be something, there must be some purpose.
Mm.
Otherwise, you would know that that person is also there for just being their sake. Just
Mhm.
understand your purpose, know your worth, and then you won't fall for some of these persons that you have fell for that didn't even deserve you in the first place. So that is what you have to understand.
Mm.
Understand your worth, know your purpose, know who you are, but most of all, know to whom you belong, to God.
Mm.
And then when you
Mm.
understand this, then trust me, you will avoid some of these situations.
Mm. Know your worth. Um, I think that's a good point. We're just wrapping up. Um, Trishara is just asking one question. What about the girl looking at guys outside, the other way around? Just to turn that point, if the guy is looking on the outside.
All right. You see, once a guy start looking on the outside, that will tell you a lot, because you have a lot of male in the church where once they are grounded, most of the times why the female may look on the outside is because of this whole saying that man short, and they believe that not enough male are in the church, are the ones
Mm-hmm.
that they see aren't measuring up. But when it reach the place for a guy start look outside the church, then you know that it is something else other than just wanting a partner, just wanting a companion. Because trust me, as single male, we can't do the amount of women them we in our church. We cannot. So when you look at it from that angle, guys in the church, no need to look out. Trust me on that.
Mm. And Keaton is saying just before we go, touch on the point that females not being interested in a guy, but once he has certain level of achievement, she's all over him.
Can I tell you a quick story about
Mm. Go ahead.
that? All right. When I just came into the church, I was just coming from the street. I still had no, I just trimmed my locks because I had locks on.
Uh-huh.
And I was rough and rugged because I was a gangster from the street. So when I
Mm-hmm.
came into the church, I still had the rough edges. I couldn't form a sentence properly. As a matter of fact, I didn't learn how to read properly until I started NCU in 2015. you know
Ooh.
so that was something for me. So when I came into the church and I met persons, when you talk to people, because what a lot one thing with Adventists, a lot of the persons, a lot of them educated. So once
Mm-hmm.
you're around persons, and I remember I met this young lady, I went to a certain church, met this young lady, we started talking and all of that, and we got close. But I remember afterwards, her mom came about and she met me. Remember, I told her, I just come in our church, I just trim, so I still rugged, I still have my rough edge them. I still, when me I talk to people, I say, yo, dog, them way there. Yeah, man. So you see it. So at that point, she came in and she looked at me from head to toe, all over and all of that. And she was definitely against me completely. She started saying a lot of things that I was not good enough for her daughter. Daughter is
Mm-hmm.
this, her daughter is that. So fast forward. So it ended. Fast forward about 4 years down the road. I was at a program at one of the conferences, And when I went there, because even though I am in the church and all of that, sometimes I love to be laid back. I am still that down to earth person who know me will tell you. So
Mm-hmm.
I was at this program, and when I came in the Friday evening, I was wearing a jeans shorts and a polo shirt, and I had my slipper on. So when she saw me, she looked at me from head to toe, and I don't remember the remark she made. And she was still looking at me that same way. She didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that while that them time they pass, a lot change. No, I
Mm-hmm.
remember now the Sabbath morning while we were there. She didn't know that I was at NCU now. She didn't know that a lot of things are changed. When she saw the program and saw that Wayne Clark was the guest speaker, right? I was the main presenter at that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Her whole thing changed. I was no longer that person that she saw
Mm-hmm.
there. All of a sudden now, I am one of her favorite person and she know all of this, and she started trying to tell me about her daughter again. And but I was not interested, not because of what she did, but I have moved past all of that.
That
Me forget
stage,
about
yeah.
them completely.
Mm-hmm.
So that point that he touched there, it's a very important one. And guys must look out for that. They
Mm-hmm.
must look out for that, because I have gone to places where I've gone to some churches, and because a lot of persons, I try to stay out of the spotlight. As a matter of fact, I must say this to you, right? This is the second interview I've ever accepted. I try to stay away from these things completely.
Ah,
The,
we're
the, the,
special.
yeah, the first I did was the Alric show on CVM in 2018. I haven't been back on any of that since, because I try
Mm-hmm.
to stay away from these things. So a lot of persons, they know the name Wayne Clark, but they can't put a face to it because me stay out of the
Mm-hmm.
spotlight. So many times they have gone to churches, and when persons see you, they treat you away. But as soon as they realize that this is Wayne Clark, everything changed. So that is what
Mm-hmm.
what he's saying there is very important. It is happening. They don't see you until they feel like you're in a position. So guys must look out for that. They must look out
Mm-hmm.
for that, because a lot of female, I know this, they are not interested in you as a person. They are interested in the position that you are holding. And you must look out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's very important. Very, very important because I've seen it happen so many times with guys. Girls only go after them because they have a particular title, and you're even in more a precarious position, pastor, because you're now a pastor. So I know that a lot of females and a lot of mummies they're gonna come and say, "Oh, Pastor Wayne Clark, this is my daughter, and she's single." So, for the males out there, look out for that. And if we flip the script as well, and we're coming down, if we flip the script as well, when males you get, or when females you get to a place where you always want to be, remember who was there with you. Because I've seen situations, I've been in situations where they reach a particular stage in life, and the first thing they do is drop you. Not everybody wants to grow with you, and a lot of people outgrow you. So there is always those things to look out for, right? We have had an interesting conversation. We have had I agree with you, Jason. He should come to the camera more often. The camera light does suit him,
Mm.
and I think the mic, and I think the mic suits him well as well. He should come to the camera more often.
Mm.
But we've had an interesting discussion, an interesting presentation. I could not have done it. As I said before, Pastor, I noticed that I have a male audience, some male audiences, and I'm not able to tell them things the way that I can only tell them what I see from observation and what I've read based on psychology of males. but I can't tell them based on experience because I've never been a male before. So
Mhm.
it your explanations, they were absolutely amazing and enlightening, especially for me. I've been with males and around males, and I've never looked at certain things a particular way until you just explained it. I'm like, oh, so this is what I wasn't understanding. And I think that's why it's important for us to have these conversations, not only for males but for females to understand that their male counterparts, they have restrictions and they have certain desires that they want to fulfill, but they can't because society put them in a little box as well. So I want to thank you, tremendous big up. I want to thank you for coming on to Speak Your Truth platform and to be able to speak your truth. And you were very direct with the audience, which I really appreciated because we're not going to no bush here. And we are here
Yeah,
really to create an airy space of inspiration, relatable, empowering, and elevating content. So persons have this safe space to share how they feel and to come here and actually speak their truth and nobody now lash out at them because your truth is your truth. Yeah. Your experience is your experience and your exposure is your exposure. And we're just here to speak it as is and to become the best version of ourselves that we can be. So I want to thank you once again, Pastor, for coming on and sharing with us. Pastor Wayne Wilber, everyone. He has done such an amazing job with sharing with us, and Pastor Wayne Clark, sorry, with sharing with us and really diving into the truth about breakups and how we do get over breakups, how we do find that place of healing and restoration, and how we do find the strength to be ourselves and to learn how to become better than even the way we were before. So I want to thank you once again. Is there anything else you'd like to close off saying to the audience?
well, it was good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And as I have said, this is a very weird experience. We're sitting before a camera doing
But
an
you did great.
interview.
You did
you
amazing. I,
know,
I think you look like a
mm,
pro over there in your rocking chair.
mm. you know, the beauty, and you can check out my channel. It's revealed. You know,
Uh-huh.
the
I've seen you
beauty about
comment.
yes, the beauty about when I'm recording for my channel, my camera don't really talk back to me. So I don't
It's a new experience.
yes, so that is it. But thank you so much for the invitation. And I must say thanks for everyone who was here. But if you should take away anything from tonight, it is that when you are going through whatever you are going through, the key point is to acknowledge that there is a problem. Because if
Mm,
you don't acknowledge that there's a problem, if there's not a problem, then you cannot get help.
mm-hmm.
You cannot fix something if it is not broken. So you have to first
You can't
accept
fix.
that you are broken, yes, and then
Mm-mm.
you seek that help. If you do that, you will be okay. And also, you have to look. You have to see, not look. You have to see with all your senses. You cannot see with your eyes. You only can look with your eyes. The eyes will only show you what is in front of you, and that is looking. You need to
Mm-hmm.
be seeing, and you only can see with all your senses. If you do all these things, then you will be better prepared to deal with whatever life is throwing at you. But most importantly, immerse yourself in God, because
Mm-mm.
above
Not someone else.
everything, yes, above everything else, that is the most important thing, to have that connection with God. If you can do those three things, then trust me, no devil in hell will throw anything against you, and it prevail. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you summed it up perfectly. There's nothing more for me to say than thank you to our audience for listening. for coming. Thank you for listening. It's been an interesting conversation, but I know it's been a long one, and you've been here throughout it. And I thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for participating. And I just want you to just do me a little favor and give this video a thumbs up. Give it a like. Remember to share, press that share button, and give someone else the chance to have this experience and have this exposure to this conversation and be able to have this knowledge that we've imparted on you, the little we've known. Well, little I know, because I'm still a young bud. And of course, the more experienced Pastor Wayne that he shared with us today, right? So thank you so much for coming. Do have yourselves a wonderful night. Remember, this was Speak Your Truth. This is your host, Yana Positive, of course, with our guest for this afternoon, Pastor Wayne Clark. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you to our audience. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And do have yourselves a wonderful night. And I do hope you take these nuggets of knowledge and impose them in your lives when you're going through tough times and rough times. This was Speak Your Truths, and this was your host, Yana Positive, where we create an airy space of inspiration, relatable, empowering, and elevating content. Have a good one.